Hi, and welcome back to Dogs Do Speak. My name's Colin Spence, and today we have the wonderful Helen Motteram with us, who's going to tell us a little or a lot about how and what she does and why she's so passionate about what she does. So, without further ado, Helen, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone, and thanks for this incredible opportunity. So, probably in a nutshell, I'd say I'm an animal and bird advocate, so advocating for our feathered and our furry friends, but I'm also a huge advocate for humans as well. So, I do business coaching and wellbeing support for pet professionals, other rehabbers and rescues like me, and I do behavioral work with dogs, cats, and birds, and importantly, the rescue work with our feathered friends. My life has gone full circle. So I started my journey as a pet sitter and a dog walker, and I became extremely passionate about the wild world. Started rescuing pigeons on the streets of Cheltenham. And then I got into the behavioral work because a lot of the animals that I was sitting or walking, they seem to be this sort of unique personality, additional needs. I mean, they called on me because they needed a one-to-one dog walker, and the dogs couldn't go into kennels or the cats in catteries because of these anxiety issues. So it all kind of pulled together nicely, and I love helping other humans as well because there's enough cake for everyone. And I think by cross-referring in the animal and pet industry, we can help more animals, can't we, Colin?
I totally agree with you, Helen. I totally agree with you. But wow, you went into the pet sitting industry part of the industry first.
Yeah.
Wow. And then how did that peter out to birds? How did that come about?
Yeah, so I've always been fascinated with the wild world. I used to do a lot of fundraising as a child, and I was one of those children that loved getting mucky in the garden. So I'd go out there with my magnifying glass, digging up mud, catching tadpoles at the local pond. I didn't mind getting dirty or muddy. One of those, children, and I was just absolutely fascinated. And the first bird I really recall saving, which I know we've talked about before, was a bird called Chesney Hawk, named after the famous singer. So I was on my way back as a teenager from Chesney Hawk. He did like a concert, a local concert, and there was a little pigeon in the doorway, and I just couldn't leave it. So I went back, and back then I couldn't really find many rescues around and didn't really know who to turn to. So my dad supported me because he's got experience as well, and we supported and raised the pigeon and went on to support other birds as well as time grew. I think one reason I really love birds is because they're like mini dinosaurs. And I remember at school we used to do projects about dinosaurs, name our own dinosaur. I must have seen Jurassic Park, the first one, about 7 times. I was completely obsessed, and I've still got the dinosaur collection in my room from the Weetabix. So every day my mum would buy the Weetabix, and then I would cut out the little label and I would save them up. And then when there was enough sort of tokens, I go to the early learning centre and then I'd buy the dinosaurs. But obviously, growing up, I lost all those dinosaurs, Colin. And it's sad really when you lose these things from your childhood. You grow up, you kind of go. So one day I came home and I kept talking about these dinosaurs to Tristan, and he kept going, "Well, what do you mean, Weetabix dinosaurs?" And I came home and he bought me the entire set. He got it off eBay with the original box. So very excited. So they're in my room right now.
So what when we say we were working with birds,
Yeah,
are you rescuing birds?
yeah.
Are you then training birds, or are you just rescuing, rehabbing, then letting back into the wild? How does that work?
Yeah, so I've kind of got a few hats with that. I am a behaviourist with cats, birds, and dogs. I do specialise with anxious dogs and rescue birds. So if anyone has domesticated birds that they've got behavioral issues with, I will help that mainly online. But the predominant thing I do is rescue and rehabilitation. So these are birds that are orphaned. Maybe they'd fallen out the nest too early. Maybe they're injured, and we've got a site at home where we've got many aviaries with released hatches. We take off a hands-off approach because they're not pets. They're very different to dogs or cats, and they're wild animals. It's actually National Wildlife Day today, which is cool. I've done a lot of socials on that. So the main aim is rescue and release, but then sometimes you have the odd bird that maybe has an injured wing that never recovers. I got a couple of birds with one eye, and obviously they're not suitable to go back into the wild. But because we've had them from young, they they feel comfortable in sanctuary. So they're the birds I train and work with and enrich their lives, because I don't believe just putting a bird in an aviary and leaving it. I believe enriching their lives, training them, having the best life possible with them. So it's kind of, yeah, a couple of hats there with the bird stuff. But bird training is very much like dog training. We use the same methods. I would say bird training is more challenging because the birds can fly away. I know you've got recall with dogs, but there's only so far they can really go. But when a bird takes flight, it's really, really challenging. And I'm starting to learn about free flight now. It's an area that I've always been very wary of. Probably a bit like, if there's dog trainers watching right now or dog walkers, there's always that one dog and you're like, I don't know whether to let it off. I'm worried what it's going to do. And the same with birds. Once you let them off, it's really challenging if the wing gets them or if a falcon comes in the sky. So you can actually put trackers on them, which is really cool. But like dogs, you have to start, in a very calm, quiet environment, doing the recall training with food, positive reinforcement, and then you go out into a familiar environment that has more of the distractions. So it's very much like dog training, but I would say to any dog trainers watching right now, if you can, try and train a variety of different animals. So you get involved in voluntary work, go to your local farm, go to your local zoo if you can. It really enhances your learning and your capability, because something like training like an alligator, wow, that's hard work. I've never done it myself, but I've seen amazing ethical trainers do it, and it's like, wow, well, if you can train an alligator.
I'm still struggling to train dogs. So I think I'll stick struggling to training dogs. When we say birds, I mean, is there a different variety of different birds that you've worked with?
Yeah, so growing up, I used to work with poultry, so that was my area of expertise, training poultry, and then enrichment for poultry. So the university, I studied a lot about what we call stockmanship back then. So the local stockman who would, you know, back then it was not none of this intensive farming that we do have right now, and I used to support the local farmers. So I did my degree and my dissertation on poultry behaviour, which was really fascinating actually. Did a bit of work in zoos, and then when I found Russell Crowe, my first Corvid, then I got into Corvid. Now, Corvids are the family, so you've got like jackdaws, crows, magpies, ravens, jays, chows. They're all kind of part of the same family. Um, I like the Corvids because I've had Corvids. I always think it's much easier to give advice, training or behavioural, if you've had your own dog, own cat, own bird. I've had dogs all my life. I don't have them now, but you can draw from your own experiences. If I hadn't had my own experience with my own dog, Sally, I think I would find it a little bit struggle to walk in people's shoes and see what they're going through. So my experiences with Russell, yeah, separation anxiety, resource guarding, multiple issues, because at the end of the day, he's a wild bird, but you're trying to put them in a human environment when they've got all these natural behaviors, and they're going to
Mhm.
come out and they're very normal. Like birds resource guard, it's normal. They do get separation anxiety because they're flock birds. They need to be around others. Um, so it was that kind of, Russell kind of started that, and I was like, I'm just so fascinated with them now. And then I read up about them and learned about how intelligent they are, and they are incredibly intelligent, and it's absolutely fascinating, and they're really cool to train as well.
It's fascinating to know that, not just dogs can resource guard, not just dogs can have anxiety, and
Yeah,
they're all different branches of anxiety, that birds actually feel that way too. That's,
yeah,
for me, is amazing because who would have thought a bird resource guards, but they do.
yeah. And I rang up Shrek Patel because I was like, I've come across this in dogs, but what do you do with birds? And he said, it's just the same as dog telling, and I remember just getting so worried about it because it did become a problem actually, but he was only doing what he did because he felt anxious at the time and he felt threatened by Tristan being there, taking away his human and his cage, 'cause he used to have this cage that he loved going in. And I kind of like left it open, but obviously in the end I got a massive aviary for him. But he really used to resource guard that cage. He didn't want Tristan coming anywhere near that cage. So yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
But you were okay. Were you okay to go near the cage?
Sometimes it just depends. It was all on his terms, but we worked through it. We we got rid of I don't say like get rid of because it is a natural behavior for them, but
Mhm.
there wasn't kind of that pecking anymore when Tristan was around me or him getting angry or jealous. They called it jealous, like 'cause we had the Daily Mail come in and we did get paid for the article, but you know what these news articles are sometimes like they put their own words in, and the way they worded it, I wasn't very happy because it was like they called it the Rook of Love, and that I was running away with a bird, and it was jealousy issues. But if only they'd taken the time to understand what was really going on, rather than make it a stupid article. I wanted to get across about him and his complexities, not make it a laughing stock.
I totally understand what you're saying there. It is important that we understand how other animals live, learn
Yeah.
in their environment, and why those behaviours are natural
Mm,
behaviours. Because we, as the human animal, don't behave much differently.
mm, yeah.
We have similar instincts of how to resource guard, protect certain things.
Yeah.
We also become anxious, and if some of us are left alone, we clam up. So, it does. I can't get my head around how man has domesticated so many animals, but don't really understand them.
Mm, yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't
So
understand that. I can't get my head around that. So, where do the cats fit into all this, Helen?
yeah, I don't know. I was a bit of a rebel at university. I don't know why, but I think it's because not many other people were studying cat behavior. So we would have got a choice: cats, dogs, horses, birds. It was, and so I looked at the farm animals. I was looked at the poultry, and then I looked at cat behavior. So yeah, so I studied multi-cat households and something called Pika. I think you call it Pika.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I kind of I just was fascinated by cats and their behavior. So I wouldn't say I'm like, you know, specialist cat behaviorist, but there's some things that I like to give advice on. So I always, when it's a cat behavioral issue, I tend to refer on to my cat buddies. But if it's like the integration of another cat into the household, or if it's multi animal household, which I've got lots of experience with, I will give advice because I've introduced multiple different animals and birds to a household, and I continue to do that. And I must admit, it is such a challenging and it thing to do because you don't know whether those birds, cats, dogs will get on sometimes. And with the bigger Corvid, they could kill each other. It is that like the same with dogs or cats, if they get so it is a very serious thing. But yeah, cats I just find fascinating. And I've got my own little cat, Millie. I've done a bit of training with her. She trains to do a high five. She rolls over. But I always say cats, they're not like dogs. They're not like, oh yeah, I'll do a bit of training for you. It's just like if they're not in the mood, they're not in the mood. They just walk off. And it seems with the dogs and the birds, they're like really motivated to please you and do what you know. They're really like. But with Millie, she's like, oh, I'm not going to please you. Just I'm just going to do it because I want to do it, and that should be the way, really. But I do find with the birds, they do stuff because they love that interaction and that companionship and that bond. But whilst I am bonded with Millie, it's like some days she'll take it or leave it. She's just very independent, I would say is the good word.
Cats are wired to be independent, aren't they?
Yeah,
They are wired to be free spirits,
yeah, yeah.
whereas dogs are not wired to be free spirits in the same text, where they are more of a, how can I put this? They're more geared to work with people, want to be near humans. Yeah, so that's why they're so adaptable. Yeah, but but tell me, Helen, what type of behaviours can a cat give?
So there was a cat that because I do a bit of pet sitting now and again now. It's a very specialist thing, and because of the rescue work, I would think I do get a lot of people who have got rescue pets and rescue animals. So I was seeing a cat the other day, and that had resource guarding. So it was resource guarding its owner, which is yeah. So I had to be careful when the owner was not there. Obviously, when I go there, the owner's not going to be there, so it's not an issue. But we did touch on that, and yeah. So Millie gets very lonely when my dad goes away. So she's got a most amazing bond with my dad. And I must admit, when he does go away, she pines for him, even though she's got me and Tristan here. You can really see that she does not. And as soon as he gets the suitcases out, you can see her. She's not happy. So, yeah, so there's similar things to dogs, really. Cats, they tend to, if they're anxious, urinate around the house. Not very pleasant. So we had a bit of a problem growing up where we had a cat called Joey, lovely boy. And then there was and we used to call it street feral cat, called Arnie, um, named after the actor. And basically he was on the street and my mum decided to take him in. Of course, having two male cats in the household. And yeah, he started spraying. And I'd come home from school and my put my bag down and he'd spray at the bag. And then he would spray on the radiators because he knew when you turn the radiators on, the whole smell would go around the whole house. And Colin, I don't know whether you smell cat spray before, but it's not pleasant.
Yeah, I
It,
can just picture it. I can just memorize the smell now.
yes.
Very similar, not too pleasant fox pee.
Oh, yes, yeah, yeah.
Uh, so that's interesting that cats resource guarding the owner.
Mm,
That's interesting,
yeah, yeah.
but I wouldn't have a clue where to start with the cat.
That's, I mean, I've never had a cat resource guarding case. It's not something I've been asked about. But I know there are cases, and that's the first kind of one I met yesterday. But just treat it the same way you would treat dogs and birds when I was working with Russell. You know, it's
I,
confidence, isn't it? Like they're scared that you're going to take that human away from them. So.
I hear you. I totally hear you. I still wouldn't know where to start with the cat.
It's
You
the
can
cat
give
body
me.
language that I find hard. That is one thing that I'll put my hand up to say the cat body language. I know Millie's body language to a T, but you meet a new cat and it's like kind of starting over. But with dogs, it's a little bit more like, yeah, you can kind of go from one dog to the next. But cats, it seems like, yeah, that cat's so different to the other cat. One minute you're stroking them, and they're all like, ooh, and then they go, ah. You're like, where did that come from? But Millie now, I know when I can stroke her, and then she gives me a little warning. She gently goes, doesn't bite me, just goes, and then I stop and I move away. So it's really fascinating.
Amazing. I suppose at the end of the day, it's like you study, you observe, you study, you learn.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly. Yeah.
And if you're passionate about whether it be birds, cats, or foxes, whatever the animal is, you'll learn a lot about that species.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then from there you can then, I suppose, take it as where there's some cases like how we work and train and work with dogs.
Mm.
So we've gone birds, we've gone cats. Where did the dogs come into it? And how long did you work with dogs?
Yeah, so I started as a dog walker when I was about 18, so that's a long time ago, over 25 years or something. So yeah, started as a one-to-one dog walker. Then I went to university. See, it was animal welfare and behaviour, so a lot of it was towards the dogs. And then I went and did work at the Cheltenham Animal Shelter, and I was the head of the quarantine and behavioural unit back then, which was fascinating. So I had to kind of assess all the dogs coming in. It was quite emotive as well, because obviously when dogs had to be put down, I was the one who had to take them into the vet, and I didn't like that part of it. But when I was growing up, we had two dogs actually. Our first one was Pally, but I can't quite remember Pally because I was quite young. And then we had Sally. So Sally was our Jack Russell. There was a newspaper, advertisement, dog for rehoming. I think she was about just under a year old. We got there, and it was very evident that Sally was not happy. She was being bullied by the family. We got her home, and she was quite fearful of men and children. So we weren't told a lot about her background, but she was a happy dog, and we worked with her, and she got used to my dad very quickly. But if teenage boys came around the house or anything like that, we did have to be careful with her. Back then, there was not a lot of training advice available. So I worked, and obviously I was quite young, so I worked with my mum and dad to help Sally. I remember telling this story as well. We used to go to the beaches playing field, our local park, really nice, safe park, and I still have nightmares about this now. And we had Sally on the lead because the recall wasn't the best sometimes. And then this big black dog came running all the way from one side of the park to us, and yeah, ripped Sally's head all open, and I can never forget that. Um, it stayed in my mind, and I still dream about it. It's like this monster coming across the field. The dog wasn't a monster; obviously had behavioural issues, or if he didn't take a liking to Sally, but it's the way it came all that way and targeted Sally. Kind of, it was like such a blur. So we went to the vet. Obviously, Sally was saved, but it was horrific. And then that day onwards, she hated all dogs. So she's generalised it to every dog. Um, Sally was a weird one because a lot of dogs I work with, they're very vocal. So they'll bark when they see another dog to say, "Hey, get away," or "Hey, I want to say hello," you know. Um, but Sally didn't really bark. Um, and I would say silence is not always golden. So with Sally, and I always said that at the animal shelter, if the dog is not displaying any behaviours, do not walk in that kennel because you need something to gauge it, don't you? I remember with Sally, she wouldn't show any real frustration or anxiety, to my knowledge, until the dog was pretty close. So, and then she would just go in full attack mode. So we had to be extremely, yeah, extremely yeah, safe on walks and everything. We kept her on a lead. I think we even muzzled her at one point just because, obviously, if dogs did come near her, she would try and bite them. Now, we worked with her a lot on this issue. We helped build her confidence, and we met a dog in the local flats called Sally, Sally Older, and we did the whole paired walks together, building confidence. That's where I got kind of like we do stooge walks like that now, but back then I didn't even know I was doing it. I was just kind of like, well, this works. They're getting to know each other, they're getting more confident. And they became the best of friends. So that was really nice. And then she got better with other dogs. Unfortunately, she died. She was 18 or 19 from cancer. And I always do worry sometimes, was there was no cancer detected early, but I would think, sometimes things like cancer and pain, they can obviously make the behavior worse. But actually, as she got older, she did mellow out a lot, bless her. She was a good dog, lovely dog, really beautiful as well, tan and white. And she was the inspiration around social pause. So I do talk, when you go on my website, I talk a lot about Sally. And that is why people do book me. They go, oh, I read your story about Sally. I really understand where you're coming from and what you went through. And the fact that Sally did get better, that gives us hope. And I say, yeah, she did get better, but I don't do quick fixes. I always say that. Someone rang me yesterday, and I was just trying to explain to them that they were like, how long will it take? So I can't really give you a timeline. I said, you learn the basics within 4 sessions. We might get a nice baseline, nice magic moment, but you're not going to cure your dogs barking inside the house when visitors came, which I don't know about you, Colin, but I find that one of the hardest things to work with. Um,
Markers.
yeah, inside the house with base anxiety based for people coming in and the dog being basically, yeah, not happy. So
It can be difficult. A lot will, as you know, depend on the home environment and the people within it.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And are they taking advice? Are they going to help to change some aspects of the environment? But yeah, it is difficult at times working with others, helping with their dogs.
Yeah.
But Sally, did Sally then trigger you and inspire you to then go further into dog training, the industry, or?
Yeah, so I mean, she was a starting point, and obviously we experienced this anxiety with Sally, and then that's when I set up my kind of dog walking and pet sitting business for dogs like Sally and cats, and but yeah, it was after that I went, and then I was going to set up my own business, then I went to the animal shelter, then I decided being employed by someone else wasn't for me because I didn't I'm very much, I like structure and routine, Colin, but I don't like someone telling me what hours I need to be working. And I do open up my mouth too much. If there's ethics, if there's something I think is wrong, I stood up to management a few times. The basic back then, management wasn't good. It's all changed now. It is an incredible place. I would never put it down, but management was pretty bad, and I stood up to management, and I kind of wish I didn't because I didn't hear the last of it. Uh, I I think sometimes you need to stand up for yourself in certain situations. You've got to be the voice for the animals, haven't you? Really?
Well, if we are not advocating for animals, who will advocate for the animals?
Yeah, yeah,
And I can put that into two ways. We're going to have the bad people that don't understand in what being ethical, kind, or humane is. And then you've got the rest of us that are more willing to punch someone on the nose because they're doing the wrong thing. Yeah. So it's very important that we do advocate, and always stand up for yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. Always stand up for yourself. That's very important. So have you left the dog training side of things, or are you still working with dogs, or?
Yeah, so I still take on 2 to 5 clients a month. 5 is my maximum.
Mhm.
Um, I do more of the bird training, but it is online, and I do like to keep up the practical side. I think that's so important. We can come a bit complacent sometimes. I think, oh, well, we know everything. I've had all this years, but I think it's always good to refresh your knowledge. And I'm doing that every day. And I think the main problem I have is I work alongside Tristan, and most cases we need stooge helper dogs. And Tristan does 10 till 4 every day. He does the dog training walks. So he does one-to-one training walks in the day, and then he helps with the rescue. So I don't have Tristan anymore. And if I do, we have to fit it in at stupid o'clock. And it's you're kind of getting paid, but there's 2 of us. So you could get paid for 2 of you, but then you would have to double the prices. And I think it would just it would be ridiculous then. People wouldn't be able to afford that. So I tend to do the cases now where new rescue dogs, so getting them used to things, to trying to get people not to rush out, get them out on a lead, just so those are the people I'm trying to capture now, the people who've got that rescue dog, and perhaps at the start of their journey to help prevent those problems escalating. So I really enjoy those kind of cases. And then obviously the other 50% is the bird training, which I do online. And then I've got my coaching, pet professionals. So kind of three areas really. But I know we talked about this before. I have a lot of hats, and a lot of people are sometimes concerned. They say, Helen, you work too much. You've got too much going on. But what you've got to remember is all those hats talk to each other.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, is animals, birds, advocating for people, animals, and birds in a nutshell. Um, and the bird training talks to dog training. I get dog training clients because they see me on TV with the birds.
Mhm.
I get bird training clients because they see me with the dogs. So it actually helps increase business because I have those avenues that talk together nicely, which is good.
I want to go back to rescues because every year, if I'm not mistaken, you go somewhere in Europe.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so we go out to Cyprus, usually in March, and we do 5 to 6 days. So we'll have a workshop from a pet professional. Not sure who it is this time. That's really bad of me, but it will come to me. Um, and then we choose 5 different rescues, and we go round, and you have say the people like me who is like the mentor, the paver, the trainer, and then you have our students. But to be honest, the students who come out there, a lot of them are mentors now anyway, so they don't need teaching how to suck an egg. So I'm just there if anything goes wrong, really. And then we get assigned dogs, and you can either sit in the kennel with them if they're happy, just do some enrichment. You can go out on a walk with them. You can see the puppies. You can see more serious cases. So I try and focus on working with the anxious dogs, and then if the sanctuary has cats, I always put my hand up for that because not many people want to work with the cats. So we do that. It's a long day, Colin. It's 8 a.m. to sometimes 5 p.m. There are breaks. We get lunch. It's hot. And then in the evenings, we go out and we socialize and we network, which is lovely. Get all the nice food out there. Nom, 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 nom. I come back twice the size every year. So it's a really nice experience. We don't charge for the experience. Obviously, all we charge for is the transfers, um, the hotel and the flights, and it's run by Maria, so her organisation, and we do it as a kind of a collaboration with Pet Professional Network. So we know the people who come along have got the ethics, the knowledge. We're not just having any randomers because and that's important because it's such an emotional experience, Colin. Like I don't think people realise what it's like out there.
Mhm.
Uh, and it can be quite off-putting. So we do a lot of training beforehand. We kind of set people up for success and tell them what they're going to expect to see. And if at any moment it's too emotional, it's too much, they can back out and there's transfers to get back to the hotel. So there's no pressure really. You do as little as much as you want. And that's the beauty of it. And it's safe, safe environment to work in with the dogs as well, because you've got all these mentors and experienced kennel people around as well.
Mhm. So soon as we're already in March 2026, are you going out this year, this March?
Hopefully, I don't want to put a downer on things, Colin, but you've probably heard about the news. So
Ah,
Cyprus, yeah.
yeah,
So
gotcha.
they're restricting flights to Cyprus now, so they've cancelled this day. So when people hear this, don't panic if you're going to Cyprus. I think it's just a precaution, but there's a lot of military base out there. I don't know if you've ever been to Cyprus, Colin, but it's got very
Yeah.
military yeah. It's a very, very safe place. It's probably a lot safer than any other places, but it's a 4 hour plane journey over there, and obviously you are approaching certain places. So I just have to be mindful, and I have to keep myself safe. So I'll be updating everyone, and but it's only 2 hours away. So
Okay. Well, fingers crossed, and that
yeah,
right. I mean, but that's probably for everyone because we've been listening to the news over the last few days, and these things have an impact on other parts of the world, not just
yeah,
Europe.
yeah.
Yeah, so we'll hopefully hope that that pans itself out. So, do you work with any rescues within the UK?
So well, I work with bird rescues mainly. I used to work with the animal shelter, the Dogs Trust. I used to do a bit of work with them. It was mainly alongside the guardians when we would do the dog instructions. So I would go along and just make sure that the instructions were cool. And in my prime of things, because obviously I don't take a lot of work on anymore, I used to work with the Boston Terrier rescue and then the Sight Hounds Rescue, and they used to refer me tons of work. So it was so kind of them, actually. They put me on their like emails, and I did a few blogs for them back in the day. And they did refer a lot of work to me, which was great. And then um, the Cyprus rescues have networks in the UK where once the dogs come out here, they often get adopted, fostered before they go to their new home. So Maria will put postcodes on our group and ask if we can help. So I suppose I have to limit myself because I run my own rescue. I find it hard if I start going and helping everyone, then I'm not going to be helping my birds at home. Does that make sense? But I am a huge collaborator. I do that. That's my mission, really. I want to be helping people globally, not just in Cheltenham. That would be my mission. But there is a bigger picture moving forward.
It's really weird. You've been talking away there, and I had only one thing on my mind, and it was what type of reinforcers would you use to train a bird with? What type of
Okay.
reward?
Yeah,
What would
so
that be?
the Corvids, they love things like mealworms. Um, Buddy loves chicken, so fresh chicken is his favorite. Do it. You just have to go easy on it. Obviously, the nutritional content. Cheese, again, I'm not a big fan of giving dairy to dogs or birds, but it is a really they love cheese. And I mean with Russell, um, I was the one that he wanted to come to, so it was just my voice. He loved my voice. So literally we would do like a game of yellow card and he would put a yellow card in a basket. It took me like 3 days, I think, to learn it. So a bit of clicker training, shaping,
Mhm.
all arguments into one, but it was brilliant. And once he put the yellow card in the basket, and we're like, oh, Red. And oh my days, his little eyebrows would punk up, and then he would do a dance and he would walk around. And I'd give him the treat, but he was like, no, I'm not bothered. I just love you having a sing and dance with me. So yeah, it's just they love doing it. They love it. They love the attention. But like I said, with Millie, nah, I'm not bothered about the attention. You know, what's in it for me? But the birds, they really have this bond with you, and it's like this partnership, and you're playing and you're interacting together, and they love the training. Like Russell used to, as soon as he saw the yellow card come out, he'd strut his stuff, and he'd be like, "Hey, here we go." And I'd be like, oh, this is just marvelous. Seeing a bird that wants to work, wants to train. That is the best thing in the world, isn't it?
It's got to be, but excuse me. As I sit here and see your face light up and your animated body move, and that's because we were talking about the one and only Russell Crowe.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Just, just, just tell people how much that bird meant to you.
Oh, he was my absolute world. So, sadly, he passed away 2 years ago on Thursday. So it's March. I call Memorial March, and it's a bit of a bittersweet month for me because I like March. It's coming into spring. There's new growth. There's new hope. But it's the time I lost Russell, and it's the time of year you don't really want to be losing your friend because there's so much hope. I was in such a happy place because the photos come up on my memories. But yeah, I had him. He died. I think it was 8 years old. And which is it's a good life in captivity, but he was disabled, so we always knew he probably wouldn't make it to 10. But yeah, I found when I was out dog walking, I actually found him. I just saw, when I'm so observant when I'm out, I don't just like switch off. I watch everything around me. I think we should. So walking a little Bumble, and then I was just it's weird, really, Colin, because that day I decided to take a different route. So
Right.
Bumble was a really anxious dog, and we'd been down the Honeyborn line a few times, and BB used to come out as well. But I don't know why I was just walking Bumble today. But I took BB out on Bumble the one day, and this dog ran up to us, and it tried to attack them. So I suppose I lost my confidence. I thought, right, I'll do a different route. So I'll go up the main town street, and I'll walk past Prezzo, which is like an Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
And as we walked past Prezzo, there was these offices right next door, and there was a flight of stairs, and I saw this black thing just in the kind of office door, and I just thought, well, what's that? And I just thought it doesn't look like a bag or a toy. And so I went up to it, and yeah, Russell, he was just there. And he must have been about 5 to 6 weeks old. So he had fledged, he'd come out the nest, but it was evident that he was not a normal bird. Like he had his toes were inverted, and he had bad feathers. So many people would leave a bird or go, well, I'm dog walking. But luckily the guardians understood. Rushed to Charlie's Chippy. They gave me an old rucksack. I put him in the rucksack. They didn't see that again, sadly. And then I took it back to the client's house. God knows what they must have thought I was doing. And I said to them, I said I had to cut the walk a bit short. My apologies. There was a bird. I needed help in. They were like, a bird? That's a bit weird. I was like, yeah. Don't know what it is. I think it's a crow, but it turned out to be a rook. So rooks are very different to crows, but they don't develop the greyish beak and the baggy trousers when they go. So I rushed him home, didn't quite know what to do, did a bit of Googling, and I thought, well, could I raise him and release him? But obviously he was disabled. So started with a crate he used to sit on, then he had this massive parrot cage he sat on. Then we made perches on the walls, and then I built a £2,000 aviary for him outside. A bit crazy. And that's where it all started.
That's not crazy because when we love the way we love the animals we live with, have lived with, and will live with in the future, we'll do anything
Yeah, yeah.
because they're special. They are special. Yeah. So I totally get that. Totally get that. But Russell, whilst you had Russell, you got a bit of fame by going on to TV, didn't you?
Yeah, so I did a few video montages and like set up his own page, Russell Crowe. And the BB, what happens is the media will look for inspiration stories or quirky stories. And they picked up on this small montage on his Facebook page. And I mean, I wasn't even popular back then. It was when social media, I didn't have many likes or followers, but I had enough. And they picked up on it and they said, "Oh, can we use it on our page?" And I said, "Yeah." So and then they came around and interviewed me. And then they put it on Twitter, and then the Russell Crowe retweeted it and said, "Oh, I got some tunes for you, Russell Crowe," because he was doing like a concert. That was the first time we went on this morning. I was very worried, Colin, because I'm a very ethical person and I don't want to put any bird under pressure. So I really thought long and hard about it, and I did have a lot of fallout from taking a potentially wild bird on TV.
Mhm.
a lot of the animal rescue centres and bird rescues were like it was totally inappropriate. But you know what, Colin?
Mhm.
It reached millions,
Yeah.
and it brought interest with Corvid. And I had people messaging me, and then I had people messaging saying, "Oh, I've got a bird like Russell. I don't know what to do with him. What do I do?" And then obviously I set up my own rescue centre. Um, and then he lost his eye. That was 3 years ago. Um, Unfortunately, he had to have the eye removed because there was a growth developing in it, and it cost, I think, 2,600. It's not cheap, these operations. I didn't have that kind of money. You can't insure him. So I just put a post on my personal page, just saying, about it. Um, Set up a GoFund me, and we got 2 grand, so I was £500 short. I was really worrying and panicking. And then I opened up my GoFund me or whatever it was, and it said £500 from Russell Crowe, because you can write who the person is. Obviously,
Wow.
didn't leave an email address or anything. It may have not been Russell Crowe, but then I thought, well, who would donate £500 and why would they say Russell Crowe? And then I went to Russell's Twitter and I noticed he does donate every week, like a small amount to many, many rescues. So I put it on my personal profile and I was like, no, Russell Crowe just gave me £500. And of course, the Daily Mail quickly got my picture off my profile. They didn't even ask me. And next thing, I was on the social media of Daily Mail, and they've written this article about me. And I was like, hang on a minute, I didn't say you could talk about me. They even taken a picture of Russell and everything. And I was like, okay. And then this morning rang me again. Can you bring him in? I said, he's just had a blimmin' operation. Give him a break. And they do bounce back quickly. So I said, yeah, I'll come on the show in 2 months. Give me 2 months. Oh, we need you now. It's in the news, Russell Crowe. And I said, 2 months. And I went back on, and he was brilliant. He did a yellow card trick in front of the nation. It
Wow.
was brilliant. And I thought, would he do it? And you know what? He was so confident and he was so happy. And when I got to the studio, I said, can you do me a favor? Can I go around the studio before? Because it was slightly different. They changed like the setup. I said,
Mhm.
it's important that bird welfare is 100% priority. So they allowed me to go on. And it was quite funny. I was actually in the studio in the background, and they were interviewing this famous person, and I was there literally in the studio. Russell, I was like, Russell, don't squawk, because if he squawks, they would have heard him. But when he was on camera, he came alive. He knew, and he was so animated, and he was walking back and forth. It was brilliant. So yeah,
Russell Crowe. May Russell be resting and living in eternal peace.
I hope so. Yeah.
Just to hit on now, Pet Professional Network. What is that?
Yeah, so I mean, we're coming up to, I think it's our 8 year anniversary this year. So it's 10 years ago. I was getting a bit overrun and approaching burnout. A lot of us in our industry will face this at some time, and the snowball just kept, falling and getting bigger and bigger. And so I decided to set up a Facebook group in which I could bring pet professionals together, not only for support with things like burnout, confidence building, but also I was bullied in the industry, which is a hard thing. And I seem to get this quite a lot. I think it's because I'm kind-hearted and just I put myself out there. My content does reach a lot of people, and sadly, this one person. I mean, we're going back like 10, 12 years ago, they targeted me and it wasn't very nice, Colin. And I felt quite alone. I didn't know who to talk to. So I set up the group because of that as well. And then it was a free group. And then one day I said, oh, getting pretty busy, this free group now. And I'm getting like 20 to 30 messages a day and all these requests from pet pros. And I said, this isn't my job. It's just I'm doing it voluntary. And then someone suggested, why don't you set up a membership? And back then, Colin, like memberships weren't a big thing. I mean, you got the PPG, the IMDT, quite small back then, but there wasn't really anything for pet professionals and business support. And I wanted to stay in my lane. I think that was important. We've got so many amazing organizations, but I wanted to focus on the thing that I was passionate about. So I set up the Pet Professional Network, and in the first 2 weeks, we got our first 50 members. We didn't even have a website. So I promised a website, and then as soon as the website popped up, went to 100, then 200, and then eventually I think we got to 650. I was always aiming for 1,000, but I've learned now it's not about the numbers; it's about having that personal
Yeah.
feeling. And I know we've talked about this before, but last year I swapped over websites and I lost every single member. We were back to no members. Now we have gone up. It's not 650 anymore. We've got 250 active members, and then we've got 200 members who are like lifelong members. So I've mentored and coached them over the years, and they've got their lifetime membership and the affiliates, which are really super helpful. So, but having that smaller number now, we have group coaching sessions, which is incredible. I couldn't have done that before, Colin, because it was too big. And you can't have a lot of people on these group coaching sessions. So people can dip in and out now. There's a lot more support. Obviously, it's a lot more money now than it was when I first started. But I think people understand that you pay for something that gives good quality advice. And I have to keep reminding people of this because, often you get people, oh, I can't afford that. And I'm like, well, you will get a lot of value from it and dip your toe in. If you don't like it, you can cancel your subscription, you're not bolted in or anything. But it is a really inspiring place, but it's not about me anymore. So when I set it up, it was very much predominantly I was the face of it. I'm the face of the birds now. That's where I want to be. But with PPN, it's about the community. So we've got mentors, we've got affiliates, and they are the face. So I can have both worlds, which is
Helen, if anyone would like to get in touch with you to pick up one of your services, whether that's cats, dogs, rescues, and
yeah.
birds, PPN, how can they get in touch with you?
Yeah, so what I've done is I've put my pages separate so that it's clear what I do. So the Pet Professional Network has a page. You can find that on Facebook. We have a website, petprofessionalnetwork.com, where you can have a little gander around that. Helen Motteram as a person, that is my public profile on Facebook. So you can friend request me or you can follow me. But that is more, so what I share on that is sort of work-life balance and harmony, my experience with birds, and my personal downtime, whether that be fancy dress or spend it with my mum. It's nice to come on that page because of it, you've got the personal and the business. And then the bird stuff, I got Russell's Rescue, which is my main page. And then I've got Flock with Helen, which is just about birds. So if you just want birds, Flock with Helen. If you want a bit of everything, Helen Motteram. And if you just want business coaching, a network, Pet Professional Network. So you can pick and choose. You don't have to have all of Helen, but you can have little bits of Helen, which is cool.
Helen, it's been an absolute blast.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Every time I talk with you, I've always enjoyed our talks. Okay, everyone, that's enough from us here at Dogs Do Speak. Please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on any of the new content. Until the next time, it's goodbye from me and goodbye from Helen.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.